Hello and welcome to probably the most exciting video I have ever made in my entire life. This is going to be a deep dive of all villains with references in Just Dance 2023. I know you want to jump to Night Swan. I promise you, I'm covering her. But please watch them in order because I have reached out to our lore master and the entire video is scattered with little interesting pieces of information, little Easter eggs she decided to share with us, and it makes sense to watch in order. I promise you. Now without further ado, I want to start with Amanita, also known as our Mushroom Lady. Amanita first appears in Just Dance 2021 as a character in the background of the song Without Me by Eminem. It is depicted that a young woman picks a mushroom off of a basket in the middle of a city. The mushroom has a face and boom kapow, Amanita comes back based on that news article. Pool Man attempts to fight Amanita and loses miserably as she engulfs him in her green spores attack. Hairman strikes back as he blows his hairdryer at Amanita and counteracts her green spore attack. I mean, I bought a Dyson recently. Apparently that was a great investment for fighting villains in Dance City. That is where we see her defeated. However, she is only there to return to her extreme routine. Now, a little bit of background about the characters and what we know about her from the avatars of Just Dance 2023. Amanita's avatar features her obviously as a mushroom, which is how we saw her first. Her tagline is boom boom mushroom Dance City, I'm coming for ya. The interesting bit is that Amanita is a whole species of mushrooms, and some of the most toxic mushrooms in the world are under the Amanita fungi genus. The second avatar of Amanita is called Daphne Lantana, and her tagline is I'm looking to add a little super to my natural. She just looks like a normal lady trying to collect some mushrooms or give them to someone. She definitely does not look as evil and ominous as her mushroom self. Daphne Lantana is another throw to plants and a little bit of foreshadowing. Daphnes are normal plants that people grow in their gardens. However, Lantanas are also types of flowers and they're known for being poisonous to people. Daphne's story is clearly an origin story evidenced in looking to add a little super to my natural. I get the natural, but how did she get the super added? I reached out to the lore master to ask a completely unrelated question and I got an answer to this one. Someone helped Daphne Lantana turn into Amanita, but more about that in a second. We can conclude that Amanita is in fact a villain and she is after our goofy superheroes. You can also notice the superheroes in two other maps, Wannabe and Danger High Voltage 16-bit version. That makes me think that Amanita will be making her return, whether with the superheroes or without, or maybe even with a different coach intertwined in her narrative. I honestly can't wait to find out more of how Amanita's story develops. The next obvious villain of Just Dance 2023 I want to cover is not as prominently featured, but she does have an emote in her own background. It's no one else but our boss witch lady. As well as the super fun sinister laugh emote of Boss Witch, we can also unlock a background at gold prestige level 37. God, it takes a while to unlock those. As you can see, I do not have it. It is definitely from the Boss Witch map as it features the background. There's different potion bottles. The tagline of this background is be careful what you wish for inside the witch's mana. We don't actually know too much about Boss Witch. In fact, we don't even know her name as of now. We know that she's a Leo as a zodiac sign according to this Twitter post, but besides that, all the information we can glean is from her routine. It starts at Potion Alley. She walks through the corridor, ends up at her potion making room. There's the two cauldrons, clearly making some funky potions. And after that, she goes into a space-like area. Now, can she actually travel to space? Is she similar to Wanderlust and the Traveler? Behind her are swirling tarot cards. Upon closer inspection, you can see that they say The Witch. Now, I did some research and The Witch is actually not a tarot card, neither is the Oracle. Right at the end of the routine, we can see her disappear inside a mirror. We've never seen a coach disappear inside a mirror before. We have seen other characters open themselves portals and go through them, but we've never really seen one go through a mirror. So is that an illusion? Is she part of the mirror? Can she travel? That's up for discussion. So because of all of the unknowns about the witch, I reached out to the Lore Master and basically asked if she can share some more information. She said the following. For the moment, she has no name. We call her the witch. The only thing that I can say is that she is also living in the Eternix, and she's the one who transformed Daphne Lantana to Amanita. Ah! I told you guys earlier. I got an answer to that by asking a completely different question. So now we know something happened to Daphne Lantana. She went to the witch's manor. She went down Potion Alley. She asked the witch for a potion and turned herself into Amanita. Another reference to be careful what you wish for in the witch's manor. Maybe Amanita didn't want to become Amanita. Maybe she just wanted to be a bit more powerful, but hey, mushroom is what you got. Another suspected villain from Just Dance 2023 I want to cover is actually someone who has their own map. Good ones, and the coach is Mothigan. Now Mothigan doesn't actually have any avatars, backgrounds, or emotes to my knowledge, although I'd love to see some, please. You can tell that the map takes place entirely in some sort of catacomb. There is a crypt. Her outfit is fully inspired by tiger butterflies or moths. We have the full outfit sheet thanks to Caitlin, who was actually part of the announcement for this. The coach herself looks quite dangerous. She looks sassy and fierce. She looks like she's protecting something or is guarding something. The crypt behind her is empty and you can see gold butterflies flying out of it around the bridge. There is a purple hue around her, which we know is quite known of the witch. Now I tried to look the name Mothigan and not much came up, but there is an Irish mythology figure called Morrigan. It's interesting because she's mainly associated with war and fate, especially with foretelling doom, death, or victory in battle. It might be a complete coincidence. Because we don't know much about Mothigan, I actually asked the Lore Master if she can tell me something, and she said the following. Mothigan lives in the danceverse called Eternix, which can be described as the darkest danceverse. Now we know Eternix is where every villain lives, clearly. And then what she said next is interesting. She is the guardian of the crypt and helps coaches to rest in peace. She's not really a villain, she is a neutral. So I was wrong. Mothigan is not a villain, although she looks like one. It appears that she's neutral and she helps coaches to rest in peace. I wonder where that will come in a little bit later. But for now, this is all we know for Mothigan. I'll just keep enjoying her map and how beautiful she is, and we'll be waiting for more assets from her. And now the time has finally come for Night Swan, our first fully fledged antagonist of Just Dance. Oh my dear queen, where do I even begin with you? So I thought, what a better introduction can we give to Night Swan than from the protagonist herself? Take it away, Sarah.
Night Swan cursed the dance verses, turning coaches into minions. What a bummer. Jack Rose, with Night Swan being his mother, can we really trust him? Well, this dance battle is definitely on.
I know. What a bummer. Night Swan first appeared on a tarot card in Astro Season in Just Dance 2022. The tarot card features 2 numbers, which is a little bit unusual. When there's a bottom number, it usually means it's reversed. A 10, which is the bottom number, means a reversed Wheel of Fortune, which usually goes for resisting change, bad luck, controlling anyone, Night Swan. And the top number is 27, which usually stands for rebirth. The card also features a moth on it, and hopefully more on that a little bit later. It stands for a new start, an awakening, a realization, an end of old ways. Foreshadowing, or maybe an entirely new narrative for our character. Night Swan is a performer sorceress and is extremely powerful. She's also known as one of 3 beings so far that can cast portals and move between different dance verses, besides Wanderlust and the Traveler. In her backstory, as revealed from a YouTube short, she dreamt to become the ultimate ballerina, and when her dream crumbled, she basically turned to a coping mechanism by adopting the ideal of perfection. Her tagline is "Perfect is the enemy of good, and I don't care much for good." So there is that. It's worth mentioning that she's the mother of Jack Rose, which is a character that undergoes quite a transformation. Another thing we know about Night Swan is that she comes from the danceverse Eternix, where all of our villains reside, but some other coaches, as confirmed by the lore master. She makes multiple cameos and features in one other map besides her own. Of course, Night Swan makes a cameo and right at the end of Can't Stop the Feeling map, stealing all of our coaches. That is the first we see her within Just Dance 2023. She makes a cameo in Locked Out of Heaven, of course, which is her son's map. In Locked Out of Heaven, she's featured multiple times in the back. One interesting bit I wanted to draw attention to is for the majority of the map, Jack Rose dances in some sort of arena that looks fairly normal with a building behind him. As we enter the bridge, the building seemingly opens out of nowhere and reveals that this is the Swan Tower. So the entire time, it is believed that Jack Rose has been in the Swan Tower. Another cameo that Night Swan makes is in Telephone, which Avery covered quite extensively, by the way. I highly recommend you go and watch that video. Avery hypothesized that this is Night Swan's prison due to seeing her claw pointing at Louise Stiles, and also she made a comparison to one of the signs in the back of the prison to the headpiece of Night Swan. It's actually featured at the back of all her minions in the witch map. It is engraved on the floor of the Swan Tower, and it's also featured in the nameplates of all the captured coaches. So I absolutely agree with Avery. This is Night Swan's prison. I have a weird theory here. As seen in the Locked Out of Heaven video, we know that Night Swan can mask buildings to look like normal buildings, whereas it's actually her Swan Tower. There is a stark difference between the interior of the prison and the exterior. The inside looks quite dark and ominous, and the outside looks quite cheerful, fun, and colorful looking. So I have a theory that perhaps the Swan Tower, the performance area of Locked Out of Heaven, and the prison from Telephone are the exact same building, and Night Swan has just masked them all to look like something else. Just a theory, not confirmed by anybody else. From then, our sorceress is featured in the map that culminates the battle with her, which is Majesty. The map starts with our Just Dancers fighting the minions, and we briefly see a fight between her and her son Jack Rose. It's kind of hidden. The final battle is between Sarah and Night Swan. It appears that Night Swan loses. She, as the queen she is, she casts herself a portal and yeets herself back to her place of origin, according to the Twitter account. Now we know her place of origin is in fact Eternix. I hear you asking, my friend, who else lives in Eternix? Oh yeah, you guys remember talking about Mothigan earlier? Who happens to be a guardian of a crypt that helps coaches rest in peace? Not that that's been confirmed by anyone, but I think we're pretty much being told that Night Swan yeeted herself off to Eternix to spend some time napping at Mothigan's place. She's gonna take a little nap there until she's strong and ready to come back. But for now, this is the last we see of Night Swan. I can't wait to get more from her. Also, those thighs are my religion. Literally. Worship everything about Night Swan. When I think of evil, there are a few maps that come to mind, but one of the most recent ones is Zenith. Zenith is a map that features a beautiful, controlled, classic-looking Japanese geisha in one of her forms, and in her second form, she turns into this dragon-looking fierce creature. Now, there are actually 3 references to that map in Just Dance 2023, but they only refer to her geisha version. We have Michiya in her normal avatar, the tagline being, "Come to me when the moon is red and I will soothe your soul." Now that in itself doesn't have any evil sounding in it, but let's not forget that red moon in certain cultures and astrology means death and destruction. It does refer to a full eclipse of the moon. And in her second format, which is Michiya blooming, The tagline is "The Sakura bud awaits to bloom and the whole world reawakens." Now that might be a reference to some of the background in the Zenith map, where we have some cherry blossoms and a pagoda and some kind of a shrine. Speaking of the shrine, we also have a reference as a background. The background is called Shrines of the Red Moon. How we know that this is from her map? Well, the tagline of this background is "Join the pilgrimage to the ancient shrines of Michiya." Those are the shrines of Michiya, and there are the shrines of the Red Moon. She seems to be some kind of helper, priestess, or at least some divine figure that helps people, or probably helps nature. The reason why I think that she is evil, or there is an evil side to her, is the very dragon-looking creature that she turns into. The entire map turns red and gold aura starts emitting from the character. It looks like this is Michiya herself. All I could find online is that Michiya was featured in a tarot card from a promotional image under the name of Temperance. Now, temperance means self-control. I'm hypothesizing here that maybe Michiya has two sides to her. Maybe she has the very traditional, dainty, wise side. Also, her name means wisdom, Michiya, usually a masculine name, by the way. But maybe she also has a wild, fierce, evil side, as depicted in the dragon-looking creature that she clearly transforms into. I couldn't live with myself, so I reached out to the lore master and asked, what's the tea? What is she? Is she evil? Is she not? Is she good? Please help. And oh god, did I strike gold with this one. So this is exactly what the lore master said. Michiya is the highest priestess of the shrines of the Red Moon. She's well known for healing the hearts of spirits and coaches. One day during one of her rituals, she met the yokai named Chitsuki. They talked a lot to each other as Michiya wanted to calm the spirit down to appease it. But the only way to help Chitsuki was to be possessed by her. Michiya accepted the deal, and now she's doing her best to heal her. With time, Chitsuki started to calm down and became the protector of the shrines. Michiya and Chitsuki also created a really strong bond between them. Isn't this the most wholesome story you've ever heard? I'm truly speechless, but let's break this down. So the dragon-looking creature is actually a yokai. Yokai are a class of supernatural entities, spirits, or also sometimes translated as straight demons. So it turns out that that dragon-looking thing is in fact Michiya, but is Michiya possessed by Chitsuki. Interesting tidbit, Chitsuki as a name means blood moon. I love to see that my hypothesis was somewhat correct, because there is evil in Michiya, but it is only for the good purpose of helping the unruly spirit Chitsuki. And the fact that they became very close and then Chitsuki became the protector of the shrines is just so incredible. Just goes to tell you how deep the entire lore can go. Now with that, we can conclude that Michiya is in fact not a villain, but I thought this story was the best thing ever. So wholesome, so incredible. Now I wanted to introduce you to one of the most hilarious villains I had come across while doing research, and that is Cthylla. Cthylla is player 4 from the map Always Look on the Bright Side from Just Dance 2020, and also my preferred player. When going through all of the assets, you can see we have 2 avatars of Cthylla, and they're more weird than the next. The first one, we see her in her usual form, and her tagline is, "When you sleep, I'll be there in your dreams." Jesus Christ. Okay, Cthylla. And then in her second version, we could see that her wings are bigger, she looks much more evil, and now she's called the Daughter of Cthulhu. And that tagline is interesting, more on that a little bit later. A third mention of her is also in a background, which is called Theatre of the Enigma. The tagline for this background is, "The fiends put on a great show, but beware of Cthylla." Why do we need to beware of Cthylla? Right, let's get into the research bit of this. Now, Cthylla is clearly the daughter of Cthulhu. A little bit about Cthulhu, I don't want to bore you too much because I am a big horror fan. Cthulhu was created by H.P. Lovecraft in 1928. Later on, an entire horror genre appeared, which people call Lovecraftian, literally based off of the work of this guy. Cthulhu looks pretty much exactly like Cthylla does. Cthulhu is a cosmic entity with unknown purposes. There's an entire mythology around Cthulhu and his family, a place where they live. It is believed that they are trapped in some way by humankind. It is definitely strongly suggested that they will return one day and wreak havoc in the world. They're also referred to as the Great Old Ones. I find it hilarious that we are actually mentioning this in a kid's game. So after this, I reached out to the Lore Master and I asked her, well, look, we have Cthylla. Is she gonna be evil? And this is what the Lore Master said. Cthylla is a great old one. As her father, she is able to distort people's dreams in order to influence or manipulate coaches. We don't know what her purposes are, but we can definitely say she is evil. So beware of Cthylla. I love this. We are going to see Cthylla probably control somebody. This is my hypothesis based on influencing or manipulating coaches. She's gonna take over the world. She's gonna be the new Night Swan. This is the next confirmed villain and a very, very unusual one. And I'm so happy I caught it. And thank you so much, Lore Master, for confirming my guesses here. I said we're gonna go back to the pronunciation of whatever the hell this is. There is a translation to this line. You hear it now. I know, rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? And it roughly translates to, in his house at Riley, death Cthulhu waits dreaming or awaits dreaming. There's different translations to this, but it's basically a reference to Cthulhu being captured by humans and just awaiting the right time to come back and wreak havoc. And now we have Cthylla, his daughter, who's the cutest little octopus ever. I can't. Now, for completeness purposes, there is one coach in Just Dance 2023 who literally looks like the devil, and that is Cypher. So I asked the Lore Master, is he evil? And she said the following. His hometown is also Eternix. Many coaches come from there. For instance, Night Swan comes from there too. However, even if he is the devil, he's not a villain. Smiley face. The smiley face was there. I did not have it. It appears that he's not a villain. I strongly feel that his narrative is much better suited in Scarlet's Palace. That might get covered in a different video down the line. Stay tuned because there is plenty I want to talk about in Scarlet's Palace. And this marks the end of this video. What a wild ride that was. I had so much fun putting all the information together for you guys. And massive thanks to the Just Dance team, Aurore and Felix. Thank you guys so much for giving me exclusive information and also confirming some of the theories I already had. This was an incredible journey and thank you everyone who decided to come on it with me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if you want me to make more of those. It's always good feedback to know if this is something that you guys want to watch. If you want to see more of me, I stream 3 times a week on Twitch, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's Instagram, Twitter, Discord, and new videos whenever I feel like them. Thank you so much for being here, my evil queens. I hope you now feel much more inclined to be sinister. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.
What a bummer. What a bummer. What a bummer. What a bummer.